Okay, very good. I'm gonna go ahead and start admitting people.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon. My name is Keely Gideon Taylor. I'm the with the Black Chamber of Commerce of Palm Beach County, Chair of Resource Development. And part of our commitment is bringing you these Wednesday Wisdom virtual sessions every other Wednesday. Co-hosting with me today is Tracy Thomas, also from the Black Chamber. And today we are very excited to have with us some board members from Board Match Now, and we'll be talking about the importance, or they'll be talking about the importance of nonprofit board service. First of all, I want to thank the Black Business Investment Corporation that has graciously sponsored our Wednesday Wisdom sessions, actually for the next 2 years. So we are grateful for their presenting partnership. We're also grateful for Board Match Now for hosting this particular session. So I am going to just give you some virtual housekeeping. We'd love to see our members, so we invite you to turn your cameras on if you wish. We also ask that you mute yourselves. Our presenters will go through their presentations and we'll be taking questions at the end. Feel free to post your questions in the chat, or when we get to that time, if you simply raise your hand, we can also call on you. So with that said, I'm going to introduce our guests. First off, we have, and I'm managing many papers here, Jen Klaassens. Jen is an acknowledged go-to leader for the philanthropic sector of Broward County in Broward County for 15 years. In 2015, she founded, in 2015, Jen founded, okay, I apologize for this. She founded the Inspired Philanthropy, a simple concept that strives to catapult philanthropic giving and make it more efficient. Jen specializes in helping private foundations, corporations, and high net worth individuals concentrate their efforts on strategic charitable giving. Okay, so Jen has a full bio, and we will share that with our members. We'll share all the bios after the event. Next up is Raelyn Barlow. Raelyn Barlow is the president and CEO of National Leadership Institute. I'm having some real trouble reading off this paper. I needed to have that on a full screen. I apologize for that. A nonprofit dedicated to board development and leadership training. She manages the content creation, planning, and marketing and presentation of contemporary educational programs, workshops, and conferences focused on board governance, best practices, and modern leadership development, and by best practices for facilitators and instructors. So that is Jen Barlow. And again, I asked them for their 100-word bio. So that's what we have. So next up is David Reece. David is currently the Community Relations Director for Land Infotech, a company that specializes in helping small and medium-sized businesses control their data information. David has worked in telecommunications, marketing, and sales, and started his career at AT&T in telecommunications. He also worked as a research engineer at AT&T Bell Labs, where he received his patent for laser-focused tracking systems. David has been in the Florida area for over 30 years, and he is a board member with Board Match Now. So you can see that our panelists are very well suited. They've got a lot of information to share about the importance of nonprofit board service as a business leader. So I'm going to turn it over to the panel now.
Well, Keely, thank you very much. It is great to be here with you guys. And it was fun because I saw a couple names that I recognized pop in. Molly, it's nice to see you. Glenn, and I think Ruth as well. It's good to see who's here. And I know we're live streaming this. So first of all, Keely and Tracy, thank you for allowing us this opportunity to talk about something that is near and dear to our heart, which is board service, nonprofit board service. We're going to talk a little bit today about what board service is, why it's so good for you professionally and personally, and then we're going to talk about diversity. And that's a message that's really important to us and to our nonprofit community. And then I believe, Keely, we have time for question and answer at the end. So if we can go to the first slide, let's set the stage a little bit. Now, I don't know who's with us or who's listening in via the live stream, so don't know the pulse of your board service experience. So what we want to typically do first is just some board basics, right, Jen, David? So a board member, their basic role and responsibility is strategic oversight with the nonprofit. A board member is there to make sure that a nonprofit meets its mission, that it meets the mission it was created for, which is a story in itself. We won't go into that, but stay on mission, stay financially on track, stay legally in compliance, operate ethically. And there can be some really interesting stories there on ethical situations that crop up between board members, companies, and nonprofits. A good board member helps fundraise. You help with that very important give or get financially, and you become an advocate for the organization. Once you find a nonprofit and become a board member in an organization that really is passionate to you, that stirs your soul, that feeds your brain and wants to make you get involved, you become a great brand ambassador and a word of mouth for that organization. So I think one of the main roles of a good board member is to make connections and open doors. So Jen, I want to start with you because you have a great story. You have been on more than 10 nonprofit boards for years. You are known as a connector in the South Florida community. In fact, I can't even count the number of people you've connected us to as a National Leadership Institute team member. So tell us your story, your connection story.
Sure. Hello to everybody. I love the title Wednesday Wisdom. So hopefully we can leave you with some nuggets of wisdom when it comes to board service. As Raelyn said, I love people. And so I really use my strength on boards to connect those that have a heart and passion to those that they want to serve. And what that means is you might have the money, you might have talent, you might have a treasure, and a treasure could be something that you're good at and what you do in your professional day-to-day life. So when you can connect all three of those, and to Raelyn's point, passion is absolutely number one. I just want to share a tidbit. I made the mistake early on in my board service career of saying yes to a board that did not stir my heart and soul. And so what that means was I was an okay board member, but I truly didn't leverage my connections. And, as we do have some board members, I'm looking at Molly right now. And as you know, a board definitely needs to be your biggest asset. And with that biggest asset is introducing people that can help and provide those opportunities. So that's kind of my story, Raelyn, is just really making sure that you have the passion and then to leverage your talents to that board. And that's by people and making connections, because every nonprofit needs awareness, they need money, and they also need board members.
So Jen, can I put you on the spot a little bit and have you give a very specific example? Because you helped a nonprofit bring in one of their biggest contributions ever. And it was through the power of connection.
It really was. That's a great example and great segue. I'm on the board of Henderson Behavioral Health. It's a large mental health nonprofit organization. Literally made a connection about 18 months ago. This particular foundation came in and made a small gift, small but meaningful, $20,000. And then through that, from a donor stewardship perspective of the organization, they built their own relationship with this foundation. And then I'm happy to say this particular foundation made the largest gift in history to Henderson Behavioral Health. And it all started with an introduction. And I've been on the board for 9 years of Henderson. So it, on average, a major gift takes 18 months. And that absolutely played out for the success of Henderson with this gift.
And that's why we start out with a little bit of the board basics, what the role is, because we want to take some of the fear out of it. We hear a lot of times, oh, I can't be a board member. It's I don't know what they do. I don't know how much responsibility is involved, how much liability is involved. Anyway, but one of the main things we want to leave folks with is that it really is about connections and just being an advocate for the organization and keeping it strategically on track. Now, Mr. David Reece, you are also a connector. In fact, we would not be here today talking with you guys and talking to Keely and Tracy and the folks involved if it weren't for you, because you, as a board member for us, made this connection. You knew we wanted to outreach to a more diverse population, to look for diverse board members, and you suggested this. So that in itself is a perfect example, but you have a great story about how you're helping a nonprofit you're on the board of spread awareness about a great event they're doing. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
No problem. Well, first of all, thank you. And thank you for those that are in the audience. And of course, those that are live streaming to take advantage of this opportunity. Yes, one of the things that through Board Match, I was able to be matched up with Neighbors for Neighbors. And Neighbors for Neighbors is one of my heartfelt projects that I just never knew how to get in contact with. When Hurricane Andrew hit, the day after Hurricane Andrew left, or I should say the 2 days after it left, Neighbors for Neighbors was formed. And my daughter and my son were born during that time. And so they are what I call Hurricane Andrew babies. And so I look forward to trying to figure out how we can help and give back. And so through the Board Match system, I was able to get board matched up with Neighbors for Neighbors. And now they're having a big event coming up in December. And it's a comedy show where they're raising funds. And the thing that I like about Neighbors for Neighbors, disasters is their sweet spot. When anything goes wrong, whether it be here in South Florida or anything that can affect the South Florida community, Neighbors for Neighbors is helping out. Surfside, for example, popped in. They were there. So, it's a good arm to feel good about. So if you like to do feel good things, it was really, really something that I felt good about getting involved in. I had my hesitations, though, because of the fact board members have a financial responsibility, and that's critical for the success. And I like the concept that's in the earlier slide where you become an ambassador as well as get, because I surely not can't give, but I can sure enough get. So I get things to make things happen. And so I really was excited about the opportunity to make things happen and make it happen for the people in our community. So I don't want to add anything because I know Raelyn can lead me on very nicely to the next question. So I'm going to stop there. And of course, my information, Keely can find me whenever she needs me. And she's always there to help me out whenever I need something.
Well, David, we're not letting you go. We have a couple more minutes here before we get to questions. So before we get to questions from people with us, but I do want to add to what you just said, a great example of how a good board member does a great job. A great board member does a great job is what you're doing right now. You, through your company, through Land Infotech, is cross-promoting this huge fundraising event for Neighbors for Neighbors. So your reach to the community by being a board member and just sharing the word, think of all the people that suddenly will know about this event and the cause and the work that they do because you took the time to care, promote it, push it out with Glenn Benjamin's help, we might add, who's also on this call. So hi, Glenn. And if we could go to the next slide, we want to talk a little bit next about how nonprofit board service is really good for you personally. There are so many benefits to being a board member. I think some of them are pretty common sense, so I'll just hit these quickly. But if you're on a nonprofit board, your leadership skills are going to grow. You're working with a team. You're going to enhance your team, your abilities to work with a team because you're going to have to work together and you're not part of a company that's paying you. You are volunteering your time, talent, and treasure. So you really enhance your abilities to work with a team. Whatever professional skills you bring to the table, if you're in marketing and you choose to do a marketing project with the nonprofit, again, you're enhancing your professional skills. And I got to tell you, when you sit back and think about what your board service does for the community, nonprofits fill a vital role in our community. They are there, they exist because there's a gap in services that the government provides, that companies provide. Nonprofits fill that vital gap. We need them. And when a nonprofit is strong, our community is strong. So you as a board member going on that board can take pride in the fact that you're helping strengthen our community. And I got to tell you, it just feels pretty darn good. So Jen, David, I don't know if you want to add anything there, but I think it's pretty obvious how board leadership can be really great for the individual.
No, absolutely. And you really get to see the underbelly, if you will, of our community by serving. And then it's very contagious, just like generosity is contagious, so is serving. And then you want to do more and give more and be more. And then it kind of bleeds over into your company and also into, of course, your personal life, get your family involved. So and sticking with the Wednesday wisdom, just do something. Get involved, get engaged at whatever capacity, and Raelyn will be able to share those steps later as to the how. The why is a given, so the how is going to be coming up next.
And then I think let's talk about how this is good for your business. I think this is something that I am personally passionate about, the whole corporate social responsibility mindset for business and business professionals. So Tracy, if we could take a look at the next slide. There are so many studies out there and statistics out there, and we won't bore you with a bunch of statistics. So we've summarized these here, but what we can tell you, it's proven that when you get involved in a nonprofit board, it is good for your business. You are reaching new customers. You are increasing your company brand and the awareness of your company. You're creating additional PR opportunities. So if you partner, when Land Infotech chooses to send out the Neighbors for Neighbors event, they are promoting their good work in the community. And some people feel like that's a little sticky. They feel like if they're doing something for a charitable cause, they should hide their light a little bit. They shouldn't brag about it. If we can go on to the next slide, I'll tell you what we say about that. We say, if you are going to do some good work, brag about it, talk about it, promote it. And Tracy, we'll switch to the next slide if you can, because the more you talk about nonprofit work that you do, the better it is for your business and the nonprofit. And there's nothing sticky or icky about it. Promote the good work that you're doing and that they're doing, and it's a win-win. Good for your business awareness, good for the nonprofit awareness. And Jen, you know how much that can increase the reach for a nonprofit.
No, absolutely. And just think of we all go to Publix. I'm a very conscious shopper. I choose to go to Publix because they do give back to our community. So I'm very loyal. We have a very generous community, and let's give back to those who give. So another tidbit of Wednesday wisdom is be conscious, be that conscious person that when you're looking through the magazines and you see these companies stepping up to support, even the Black Chamber here. I mean, this is exactly, we need to give back to our companies who step up to help and serve from a financial perspective as well.
And there's some studies that show that customers, a lot of studies actually, that show customers will pay more if a business has a philanthropic mindset, if they are corporate givers, if they are a corporate social responsibility type company. There are a lot of studies that show people will switch to a brand that is connected to a nonprofit cause, or that customers will pay more for a product when they know a little bit of that money goes towards a nonprofit fund. So don't be afraid to partner. And one thing we suggest is look for a cause that connects with your product or service, that connects with the work that you do, and outreach. If you're an IT company, you might want to work with something like Child Rescue Coalition, which uses technology to help find child predators. There's no shame in linking your business skills to a nonprofit cause to help each other. We feel like that's a win-win. Again, your soul and your heart and your passion needs to be in it because there's a lot of time involved. But let's look quickly at the next slide. And I just want to hit this point quickly. For your employees as a business owner, your employees tend to be more engaged and more productive if they're in a charitable culture. They will trust you more as their boss, as their employer. There's proven statistics. Employees will stay longer with a company that has a philanthropic culture mindset, a corporate giving mindset, and it helps you recruit. People are more likely to work with a company that they see doing good stuff in our community. So Jen, David, I want to pause there and see, Jen, you've got a great example of a board member that doesn't give their money, but donates their venue and does a lot of work in the community. And really, it's a great example of how a business and a nonprofit can connect for win-win.
Sure. It's a great company down here in Fort Lauderdale. It's a kitchen and bath company. And what they do is they open up their venue to host and allow the nonprofit to invite their potential donors and supporters in. And it's a true win-win for them because they're getting people into their showroom who obviously need some kitchen, new appliances, et cetera. And it's obviously a beautiful showroom. So it's been a good opportunity for them to garner business, but by doing well in the community and really setting the standards high for their industry. Because once again, as Raelyn said, people shop and want to help and give back, and they're leading the charge within this sector.
And the owners of that company are very open about the fact that they don't write checks. They open their venue as a showroom and their showroom as a venue so that nonprofits can host events there. And then they bring people, they invite customers, they invite guests to come and get to know about the nonprofit and participate in the event. So they're not writing a check, they're opening their doors and making their show place available. It's a great example of how it's a win-win opportunity that doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. So we encourage people to think outside the box, look for a way that your business can connect with the nonprofit. And David, you and Land Infotech have done a lot of great work with nonprofits all across South Florida. Gilda's Club is one of them. There are so many. You might have a story you'd like to share.
Of course, I would love to have a story to share, but Glenn is the reason behind Gilda's Club. So I don't want to steal his thunder, but he can share with you that whole story around that. And I can get with them offline. I want to kind of talk about the relationship I have with Molly Murphy and the Equestrian Team, because that to me is off the chain. I never thought that somebody of my magnitude can get involved with horses. What does horse have to do with therapy and how can we help mental health? Well, I noticed the community has been changing and people are working from home. People are getting stressed out. And so what's the difference? So when I got board matched with Molly Murphy and their team, I was floored because I never thought of anything like that. They sat me down, took me to the barn, and realized that as much as excitement I bring and enthusiasm and energy, I wasn't going to be served correctly by being on the board. They needed me on their committee. So understanding the whole picture helped put me into a better position. I'm now on their outreach committee. And through that, I was able to get them on the radio to talk about their events so that they can see what's happening. But what I was looking at was to open up the awareness of the South Florida community of what we can and cannot do, which is really nothing, but from a standpoint of understanding who's available and how do we use that. Of course, I call Raelyn my work wife because she has to make sure that I stay in place because I have a tendency to stretch myself too thin. I love to help people. And I never got that desire earlier. So I'm going to save my life story for another time. But I wanted to share with you the excitement that I get by working in an environment that I'm not known for working in. So, I mean, that, like I said, you want to feel good. So when I go to bed at night, I feel good. And when I wake up in the morning, I feel good because I know I'm giving back to a community that has given to me. So I hope that answered your question, Raelyn, or did I diverse a little bit differently because you know me, I have my thought process.
No, that was very good. And I was going to bring up equine assisted therapies. They do great work. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but let's get to this last slide so we can open it up for questions. And David, I appreciate you. I'm his work wife. I didn't expect you to share that. That's hilarious. Thank you for doing that. Tracy, if we could look at the next slide, I just want to share kind of some sobering statistics here. Now, this is from a national study from a well-respected source, 3 large national organizations collaborated, the Lilly School of Philanthropy being one of them, Board Source being another. And they found that nonprofit boards, this is a diversity makeup, folks, 78.6% white, 7.5% African American. You can read the stats there. So there is a huge gap in nonprofit board service, corporate board service as well, but we're here today to talk about nonprofit board service. So when you think about diversity in boards, nonprofit boards need to reflect the community that they serve. They need a voice at the table that can speak from the experience of those they serve. They need people of color. They need women. They need young professionals. They need someone who's an LGBTQ plus voice, because our world is diverse and changing. And you can see from this statistic, this is a little bit old, and I would say the numbers haven't changed much, which is also very sobering and sad. We need to make sure we can bring more diverse voices to nonprofit boards. And so that's why we created Board Match Now. And Tracy, if we can look at the final slide here, Board Match Now for us, it is you guys, it's kind of like a dating app for nonprofit organizations to match with professionals like you watching and listening today and find your perfect match, find your perfect cause. You become a member, you create a profile as a person or an organization, and the system matches. It looks for matches based on what you enter as your cause of choice, etc. So we've created Board Match Now because 60% of all nonprofits nationally struggle to find board members. And you just saw the statistic, only 78% of the board members that do step up are white. And we need diversity on boards. So this is our program. This is our platform to help connect the dots, connect people, if you will. And we'd love to talk more about it, but that's kind of what we wanted to present today. David, I want to just say one quick thing about your interaction with Molly and equine assisted therapy. You chose not to become a board member because you both decided it wasn't the best use of your time, talent, and treasure, but you recommended a lady who might ultimately be a woman of color, business leader in the community who might very well become a good board member for them, correct?
That is correct. Molly is nodding her head, so I heard it going on very nicely, and I'm very excited because the young lady also writes grants. Now, she told me when we first chatted that she did not want to do that with anything that she wants to do. But let me tell you, when you get involved in something and you see a struggle and you know you can fix it, guess what? You're going to step up to fix it. I mean, it's just the way that we are wired. And so I'm excited that I'm able to make that happen because, again, it puts that matchmaking / connector talent of mine to use. And so as my real wife will tell you, that one of the good things about me is the fact that I can put things together quickly. And so I like to see a plan come together.
And I want to interject, speaking of putting things together, I think it's important to note that all 3 of us have a heart and passion for Board Match Now. And the reason is because we heard and listened to the community. And there's nothing like this here in South Florida. And we kept hearing time and time again, how do I get to become a board member? How do I serve on a board? How do I even begin? So we heard, we listened, and most importantly, did something about it. So this is a great tool, a great resource for our community, and it is only here in South Florida. So I think that's also another important point to add.
Yes, thank you, Jen. And I'll do, Keely, I'll do my final comment now, if I may, before we go to questions. You know, you guys, we want to help nonprofits find board members. we want to help them find diverse board members. We are actively recruiting people of color, women, young professionals, LGBTQ+, because we know there's a need for those voices at the table. But we can be out there recruiting. We have to have people step up and agree to do this and join the platform and look for a cause and get involved. So we can create this opportunity, we can foster it, but people have to take the opportunity and just get involved. And we certainly hope that we can encourage you to do that. All three of us are happy to talk offline. We just believe very passionately that board members are vital to a nonprofit's success, and that nonprofits are vital to our community, and working with them can be good for you and your business. So Keely, with that, Tracy, Keely, we'll turn it back for questions and anything you'd like to do from here.
Keely, you're on mute. You're on mute. There you go.
Oh, have we not learned yet after?
No, I saw your lips moving. I thought you was doing your ventriloquist in person.
Oh, goodness, I thought I clicked. I'm having a day. Thank you so much, Jen, Raelyn, and David for that wonderful presentation. I do see some questions in the chat. Okay. Regarding community service, or do you recommend committees as a path to board membership?
Jen, why don't you take that one? I know what I'd say.
Sorry, I went on mute because I am here down on Los Olas and there happens to be a protest going on, so please disregard. But yes, the answer is absolutely. It's a great entry point in to an organization and to get to know the people from the staff side, from a donor side, and also from other committee members. So I highly, highly recommend it. And that's a great natural path to board leadership as well. And believe it or not, some of the bigger nonprofit organizations, that is a qualification in order to get to a board seat. But some of the smaller ones, not so much. But yes, 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 and great question.
Okay.
Yes. I think it's important to know that every nonprofit is different, how they want a board member to come on board, to onboard with their organization. Like Jen said, some will require you to do the committee work first so they can get to know you as a volunteer, as an advocate, as a person. You know, sometimes on paper, someone looks like a perfect fit for your organization and you get really excited. And then in person, you meet or you work together a little bit and maybe it just doesn't jive. So committee work is important, and it helps a nonprofit in that aspect. So we love it. We love that process, but every nonprofit has a different approach.
We do have another question. Keely, you want to grab that in the chat?
Okay. Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah. Let me see that. Okay. Is there a fee for the board match or board match now?
There is a fee. We wish that we could make it free. And if we could connect to that perfect donor funder to sponsor it, we will. I can assure you that. We are on the hunt for it, but there's an annual fee. It is a membership program. I believe it's $129 for the year for a board member candidate to come on board and spend a year looking for its perfect fit, its perfect nonprofit fit. For a nonprofit, it's less. I believe we're at $119 right now. Technically, those prices should be a lot higher, but we're a new program. We've been around for about 9 months. We've been in the community looking, recruiting, matching, hunting for board member candidates, so it is pretty low. And with the program, we also offer education. So we'll have some webinars, seminars every month, different things, different opportunities. So you can learn more about board leadership, board development, and basic leadership in general. There will be educational opportunities with it. So it's pretty inexpensive for a matching service and for leadership and board training.
Good question. Tessie, that answered your question? Very good.
I see. May I put somebody on the spot?
Uh-oh.
Sure.
And it's not going to be David. It's not gonna be, will any of our nonprofit guests here, does anyone want to say something about the diversity of your board, the lack of, or if you're fully diverse, we'd love to hear that too. Any comments from some of the nonprofits with us?
Okay.
I'll go. This is Ruth Macaria with Cross Ministries, and I think I would, kind of going back to what you've just said, Raelyn, diversity is a challenge, and just trying to figure out how to improve or increase that. So I think for me, the question I just asked is, how does board match work for both the nonprofit and the potential board member? I know you kind of talked about it being like a dating site or game, kind of, in quotes. So how do we do that? Because I think it's important for both the nonprofit and potential board members to know how that works. But going back to the question, diversity is, I happen to be president of the nonprofit chamber of Palm Beach County, and I know that's something we talk about a lot. And then the other challenge that we have is sometimes even as you think about diversity, it's the same board members going around from one nonprofit to another. So I think it's also trying to figure out how do we expand the reach so that we're recruiting board members that are not necessarily known to the nonprofit community.
Yeah, and you know what, Ruth, that's such a good point. I think the nonprofit circle, I had a statistic. There's more than 5,000 active nonprofits in Palm Beach County alone right now. So think about that. Every nonprofit has to have 3 board members minimum, right? Most have 10, 12, 15, 30. And they struggle to fill those boards. So if you've got round it up and use 5,000 active in Palm Beach County, that's 15,000 board candidates needed, board members needed. Where are they? And who's stepping up? And how do we find those people? So part of it for us is education, trying to outreach throughout the entire South Florida community and say, hey, did you know you could be a great board member? And boards need to be diverse. Have you thought about board service? Are you aware? Because what happens is a lot of times it's a small philanthropic circle. We do see those same faces. David Reece can't be on every board everywhere. Neither can Jen Klaassens. So, we've got to look for these folks. We've got to outreach to them. That's where a board member that's out in the community in new places can bring awareness to your organization and help you recruit. So, Ruth, I hope that fills in a little bit. And as for how the program works, you join as a member and then you create a profile. We ask you about your organization. We ask what you're looking for, what skill set, what your financial requirement is. How many hours does your nonprofit expect a board member to need to give to you monthly? And we ask certain questions that are matching criteria. And then the system looks for board member candidates that match with what you've put into the system. So it's a board member candidate. Let's say that Sally joined today. She would enter how many hours she's got to give a month, what she can financially provide, what her area of interests are. Maybe she's a CPA, but she doesn't want to do that with a board. Maybe she wants to get more involved in something else. So she offers up the skills that she brings to the table, and then a little bit about herself, and then the system looks to match it. It's technology, it's a proprietary algorithm, and it matches. And then once you've got a match, it's up to you. We'll try to connect you, but then you two meet, the nonprofit and the candidate, and you go, hey, let's talk. In the case of equine assisted therapy and David, they talked, and the better use of the time was for David to help on a committee and outreach to people of color who may not be aware of the programs they offer and bring awareness of what they do. So he's not even on their board, but he's helping them, I think, in a great way. So that's how it basically works. I hope I answered that well. And if not, I'd be happy to talk to you offline. I haven't seen you in a long time since Jerry and I met with you years ago, 6 years ago, I think it was. So
we have a
No, I was going to digress a moment. Sandra put a question in the chat, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's recruiting. And what I like to believe in is that you go get them and mentor them and groom them for your next level. So one of the things that a lot of people are looking for, especially at our younger ages, or millennials in particular, what can they do to give back? They're big give backers. And so they want to do it through technology. But somebody has to groom them. Somebody has to teach them. Somebody has to give them some of the skills to put them in the right place so that they can be ready. So how do we make that happen is a bigger question as far as getting into maybe colleges, maybe even to some of the high schools. A lot of these high schools have Kiwanis clubs and groups. Those are the next leaders for these nonprofits and helping that community grow. So strategically, that's where I think you will get the help that you would need, whether it be in your church community, whether it be at the urban league. It doesn't really matter because these people don't know what they don't know. And how do we help create that enthusiasm and drive to give back in a way that makes some good sense? Uh-oh, she's smiling.
Thank you, David.
What did
You always make me smile. You always make me smile. So I'm just watching the time, and I want to be very respectful and make sure that Keely and Tracy have the time back. That we do have a partnership at the moment with Broward College, the Broward College alumni group. So there's a discounted rate for members to come in through that. We've done some programs with them. We are trying to connect with organizations. I mean, honestly, what helps with the diversity outreach is what we're doing right now today, talking about this program, letting people know that it's out there, letting you know that we are actively recruiting a diverse population to join and look for their perfect nonprofit match. You know, this is our awareness platform too, and outreach to you. So if you hear of someone looking or considering board service, talk to them about it, talk it up, send them our way, and help us find diverse candidates to get involved.
Mhm.
We have another question, I think, in the chat that we missed. Why do you think that there's such a lack of diversity in terms of race on the nonprofit boards?
You know, that's a tricky question, and I think there could be a lot of reasons for that. I think it goes back to just traditionally, corporate boards have been traditionally senior white males. That has changed a lot over the last 5 to 10 years. There's an organization called Women on Boards. I think it was 2020, and now it's Women on Boards 50/50. It's a national organization that was recruiting women only to get on corporate boards and as a filter down nonprofit boards because the female voice was lacking. And I think it's just a reflection of society. The senior white male was courted as a nonprofit board member, someone who could write a check, someone from like a bank CEO or a big business leader in the community. And as awareness has grown and more people have spoken out about it, the need and the statistics have become clear. So, but I also have to go back to who's offering their time, talent, and treasure. If you are not offering up getting involved, there's a little bit of the personal side to it as well. Someone has to be willing to offer up their talent and come to the table because it is a time commitment. It is work. So I don't know why. I think it's just followed the traditional model of who's been in charge. I'm sad to say, but I think that's the best answer I have. Jen, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't. That's very well said. It's really, if anything, we challenge you all. Everyone can give something. So say yes. There's a lot of fear of what does it mean to be on the board. And that's kind of what this is all about. We want to take some and demystify what board service is. Every single person has the opportunity to serve. So if we leave you with anything, say yes to yourself, and you can give of your time, talent, and treasure. So.
Yeah, and I feel like I misspoke a little bit there. So Tracy, Keely, forgive me a minute. I said the traditional model, and I'm referring to the corporate model. It's no secret that corporations have been run predominantly by senior white males for a very long time. That is changing. The culture is changing. Diversity as a whole is changing across the board corporately, and nonprofits have been a little bit slower to adjust. I think the corporate world is adjusting and reflecting a much more diverse voice as it should. So it's tricky, but as the world gets to the right place, nonprofits are getting there too. And we just want to help outreach and connect the dots.
Thank you. So we are getting to the close of our program, but this is great conversation. So I will take one last question if anyone wants to shout something out, or we'll move on.
So can I do a shout out?
Sure. Hi, Glenn.
Hi, and I know David won't talk about it, so I will on his behalf. Of course, he's not shy. But you know what he does in the community and what he's got me doing as part of his team is amazing. A year and a half ago, when COVID hit, I had no idea if you gave me ZOO how to spell Zoom. I had no idea what it was. And we've actually made it a business practice. I'm not here to tout. I'm not here to sell anything, but it's led us to do virtual fundraisers for nonprofits. And over the past year and a half, we've helped them make about $500,000 using Zoom or other platforms. And I'm doing events for people in the Holocaust area. I'm doing something on Friday for a local nonprofit to raise money for Halloween for kids services they provide. I never thought that would happen. So we made the pivot, thanks to David and others. And I got to give a shout out to all of you because there's so much that can be done. I wish I had more time to do more, but I'm on 3 different boards and we give back to the community. At the end of the day, we are thrilled. So that's my shout out. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Glenn, for that shout out, because one of the things I'm gonna throw in, he's also on the board for a women's organization. So you talk about diversity, they brought in a white, stocky, bald-headed man to run. And so
short, bald, and portly.
I know.
Get it right.
That word. I hate portly.
You too. Glenn,
Well,
Glenn, thank you for your service.
You got
Thank you and
Thanks.
David for your service. We appreciate it. And Jen, you as well.
Okay, wonderful. Well, this was some great conversation. As I said, thank you to Jen, Raelyn, and David, doing some great work. I know there's lots of interest. I see some of my leadership buddies on the line, so there may be an opportunity for another presentation with a different group. But I'm going to turn it over to Tracy to share new member highlights with the chamber, and then I'll close this out.
Thank you, Keely. I just wanted to spotlight a few of our newest members. I think we have a couple of them on the line as we're on today. But Emerald Point Title LLC. We have the Leadership Haven Resource Center LLC. That's Tessie Watts, who's also on. We have the law offices of Edric E. Barnes, the Fellows Media, Grassroots Consulting, Inc., Fifth Third Bank, and Family Promise, North Central Palm Beach County. Those are our newest members. And we thank you all for being a part of this chamber. And if you're interested in being a member, if you are not already, click that Join Now button on our website, or you can send me an email at info@blackchamberpbc.com. Thank you for joining us today. It was a great discussion and I've learned so much. So thanks again for this presentation. Keely.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, again, thank you to Board Match Now and the National Leadership Institute. Again, Jen, Raelyn, and David. Ladies and gentlemen, I do invite you to join our next Wednesday Wisdom session on November 10th. As we move into the end of the year and things get really, really busy, we want to be thankful. So the title of that session is Thanks Living, living in a thankful manner. So thank you again for supporting the Black Chamber of Commerce of Palm Beach County. Enjoy your afternoon.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Sally.
Hi.